Hey everybody, it's time once again for Quantum Spirituality. I'm Derek Day, in case you don't already know that, and I'm going to go ahead and get a few shares going here. Um, Experimenting with something else here, so there's not any music today, but y'all bear with me. We're getting there, one step at a time. Technology has some hurdles that have to be overcome, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this rolling. So, in case you're wondering, you are listening to the Global Online Ministry Alliance, as in GOMA. And this is also part of the Three Chord Live production. And we're going to get this shared. We're going to say share to a group, and we'll share that to Three Chord Live. And there. And we will also say share to share to a page. And we're going to share it to GOMA. All right. So cool. Oh, one more. One more. Always one more. And we'll share it to a page. And we'll share it to Derek Day Multimedia. Okay. So, first things first. Can y'all hear me okay? Is everything good? Sound-wise? Let me hear you. Give me a thumbs up if y'all can hear my sound. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is like a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me? Good. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. Let me just check my OBS here, and I'll see if it says that it's getting audio capture. So that means the sound is coming through. Let's just say I will put something out here that says, can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? Dude, this, guess what? I can hear me. So if I can hear me, that means you can hear me. So anyway, once again, it is time for Quantum Spirituality, and it is the Global Online Ministry Alliance and Three Chord Live. And just for the record, I'm sporting some swag here from the Pivotal Clothing Company of Glendale, Arizona. It is a local black-owned business. I am happy to report. In exchange for my wearing this in the video, I'm giving Pivotal a shout out, and I'm loving it. There's some really good positive gear, and you could check out Pivotal online on Facebook Live and all of that. So that is that. And want to give some shout outs to our Three Chord Live group. Bill Thrasher, Michelle Brown, Tammy Wilson, Catherine Toon, Kyle Butler, Mike Zinker, and myself. And also want to give some shout outs to the GOMA team, which is Lynn Bennett Jr., Kyle Butler, Mike Porter, Catherine Toon, Mike Zinker, and myself, and Keith Giles. Don't forget Keith Giles, because he will serve you up with another cup. And also, I am officially part of the Heretic Happy Hour podcast. And I'm really excited about that. I'm getting to sit down and chop it up with some really heavy hitting theological minds. I mean, listen, we have Matthew DiStefano, we have Keith Giles, and we have Katie Valentine, in addition to myself. And they are all amazing people with really deep thoughts on scripture about God and about Jesus and about spirituality in a broader sense. And so I'm really blessed to be able to sit down in the same space with them. It's really, really awesome. And also, I've had some a new episode of the Love Forward podcast, and a new episode will drop today. It was actually going to drop yesterday, but I wound up having to work. Got a big deal coming up this week, so we're burning some midnight oil, and I just really didn't have time to do it. But it will be out today. It will drop today. So make sure you are liking and subscribing the Heretic Happy Hour podcast, and liking and subscribing to the Love Forward podcast. And I also want to give two more shout outs before we get going. And those are to my men, Henry Harris and Anthony Callaway, because they both do a lot of excellent online stuff. So That is everybody, all the shout outs and everything. Now, y'all bear with me because I'm not going to be able to do shout outs like I normally do because I'm using this digital camera and I'm, using my nice background here, looking like, I don't know what the ship was in 2001 A Space Odyssey, but, with HAL and all that, it looks like that. And anyway, quantum spirituality, in case you don't know, is basically observing spirituality at a quantum level. And the interesting thing about observing spirituality at a quantum level, just like when we observe things quantumly, the observation of the thing changes the state of the thing. So when we observe it, it actually changes, which means that we can only predict where it's going based on our current understanding, but we never actually know exactly where it is. And you know something, to me, that is absolutely exciting. That's exciting because when you don't know, you're more tuned in to the journey than the destination. So today I want to talk about vibration and playing the field. Now, for all of you out there that are from the hood or whatever, y'all understand, please, that I'm not talking about getting in touch with your inner player. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about sowing your wild oats or anything like that. No. What I'm talking about is the quantum field. The quantum field is basically everything. It's the universe of everything. Or if you could think of it this way, we talk about this in IT. We talk about the Internet of Things, and basically, the quantum field is the internet of everything. It is what connects everything. It is the network through which everything is created. It is the matrix in which everything exists. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that this field is love. Matter of fact, I'm going to go so far as to say that love is the original wireless connection. How y'all like that? So, with that being said, when I talk about playing the field, player, I'm talking about how to exist in this field. Now, here's the thing. Whether you understand how to exist in the field or not is absolutely immaterial. I'm trying to get something adjusted here. There we go. Make sure our logo is clearly visible. But anyway, if you don't understand how the field that you exist in works, you won't be able to take full advantage of it. And what do I mean by that? When people are learning how to run competitively, they learn about aerobic and anaerobic atmospheric consumption. In other words, how the body is using the oxygen that is provided in the atmosphere. And in order for you to be competitive at, say, like an Olympic level, you have to at least have a fundamental understanding of this, because if you don't, you won't be as competitive as someone who is. Now, there's a lot around that, that competitive athletes have teams around them, and they have trainers that help to overcome the things that they don't know, or help them to or help assist them in the things that they don't know. But it really behooves you as an athlete to understand that. For example, like if you're a boxer, there are boxers that when they arrange heavyweight or not heavyweight, but title fights, they specify the dimensions of the ring. Why? Because some fighters fight better in a smaller ring, and some fighters fight better in a larger ring. And then there's also the tension of the ropes and the canvas, because this will dictate how you are able to defend yourself against the ropes, and the tension of the canvas will also determine the speed of your footwork. So it helps you to understand the field on which you play. This is a true story that some years back, I want to say about 20 odd years ago, and actually it's probably further back than that. But anyway, the Detroit Lions were playing against the Washington Redskins for the NFC Championship, and they were playing at the old RFK Stadium. And what was found out afterward, and nobody really empirically proved this because there's a lot of implications to this, but it was said that there were divots carved up in RFK's football field, and the locations of these divots were made known to the Redskins, but not to the Detroit Lions. And why is this important? Because the Lions' secret weapon was Barry Sanders. And if Barry Sanders happened to hit a divot, he couldn't cut like he normally did, and therefore, and it worked out exactly the way it probably should have had they modified the field in that way, that Barry Sanders was totally ineffective in that game. So, understanding the field is important to living. Now, I want to say something here because lately, with all of the things that have been going on with the COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter, and we're in an election season, that people have come to me and they say, well, Derek, you're not vibrating at a high frequency. The mere fact that you speak on all of these things means that you're vibrating at a lower frequency. Well, friends, let me tell you something. I'm not vibrating at a lower frequency. If you're perceiving that I am, then that means you are vibrating at a lower frequency. Because see, here's the thing. I'm cool where I am. What I'm doing by speaking out against things that I think are oppressive, or things that I think are racist, or that whatever, or that they are a threat to the population, I say these things because I want everyone to vibrate higher. I want everybody to come up, because if you're looking down on anybody in humanity, if you're not actively concerned about your fellow man, if you are actively not trying to protect other parts of humanity from whatever it is that you might be afflicted with. Because see, again, when we talk about wearing the mask and all of that, it isn't that I'm trying not to get anything. I'm trying to make sure I'm not the one that gives you anything. And by the way, I'm COVID negative. However, if everybody wears a mask, then that means that nobody is running the risk of infecting someone else. You follow? That means that if you're wearing a mask, you are vibrating at a higher frequency. If you are speaking out against police brutality, you are vibrating at a higher frequency. And so the whole point of everything that I say has to do with getting the rest of humanity to vibrate higher. Because if you neglect any part of humanity, that means you are in the field, but not aware of the field. And I believe that that's kind of like what Jesus was saying, you're in the world, but not of the world. In other words, we are all in the field. But the idea is we want to come to an understanding of how to operate in the field, and then that way we can say we are of the field. In this field, again, is love. Love, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that love is the raw material from which everything that we perceive, physical, spiritual, supernatural, metaphysical, or quantum, everything is made of love. And here's the thing, that as we get, further and further into atomic structure and subatomic structure, we're finding different things, because we always think that, okay, initially humanity, when they came up with the atomic theory of things, they believed that atoms were the smallest part of physical matter. But then they found out that there were electrons, and then protons, and then neutrons, and then quarks, and quanta, and all of these different things that are part of the atomic structure. They are subcomponents of the atomic structure. So the further that we get down into this field, we're going to find when all the hairs have been split, when the atom has been broken down to its most infinitesimal quanta, we're going to find love. Okay? So that's the deal. Everything is made of love. And the thing that connects humanity as well as everything else is love. And watch this. I had a conversation with a friend this week, and we were talking about people who have achieved certain measures of success. And you know, one of my favorites is Oprah Winfrey. And so my friend said, well, the reason why, why Oprah is famous is because, the devil, because she doesn't serve God, she serves the devil. Well, I had to stop him there, and I said, listen, brother, this is a conversation for another time, but I want you to understand first and foremost that there is no devil. That's a made up thing that religion created in order to keep all of us in our place. So the thing is, there's no devil, which means that serving the devil is not how Oprah got what she got. And I'm going to tell you how Oprah got what she got. Because Oprah learned to vibrate at a higher frequency. In other words, and I'm going to tell you something, in my heart, I want to be like Oprah because, listen, on a daily basis in social media, I get kicked in the nuts repeatedly. And my natural self always wants to react to that. My natural self always wants to turn around and kick that ass in return, right? But that is not what really yields results. What yields results is when you get to the point where that shit just doesn't bother you anymore. Listen, people talk about Oprah like a dog. But do you know that Oprah, she gets up in the morning in her $50 million house, and then she goes down to the airport in her Bentley, and then she gets on her Gulfstream jet, and she flies somewhere. And Oprah gives two fucks about what you think. She just keeps on being Oprah. And here's the other thing, too, is that people say, well, Oprah's not doing anything about this Black Lives Matter, and she's not speaking out against all of this racism and all of that. Look here, people like that, they operate in the background. They say the same thing about Michael Jordan, but when you really scratch down beneath the surface, Michael Jordan actually does a lot for black folks. Oprah does a lot for black folks. 50 Cent does a lot for black folks. Ice Cube does a lot. And just because they're not out there, with a megaphone shouting it down, doesn't mean that they're not doing it. They're vibrating at a higher frequency. In other words, what they're doing is they're making the law of attraction work for them. And that's really where we want to get to. And here's the thing, that the first part of being able to really utilize the law of attraction is understanding where you are in the field. Now, understand this because the field is kind of random. When you look at it in the terms of quantum physics, waves and particles appear and disappear in the field randomly. And when they appear and disappear, and when you track this frequency, you kind of look at, okay, now I could kind of make some estimates of where it's coming from and where it's going. But in order to really understand how to measure that, we have to first understand the field itself. And if we expect to manifest in the field, if we're expecting to create a vibration that will bring stuff from the field into our world, then that means we have to understand the field. So we have to learn how to play the field, player. You understand? And by saying that, what I mean is we have to learn to operate at the frequency of love. This means that there are things that we need to engage our vibration to manifest something for. And then we have to also learn when to not vibrate on a certain thing. Because it's like music. In music, you have notes and you have rests. And if you had only notes, what you would have is noise. But when you take the notes and you structure them with a rhythmic pattern, with rests, you get the proper ratio of noise to silence. And when you get the right measure of noise to silence, you get something melodious, something harmonious. And that, y'all, is where we want to be. That's where we want to get to. See, when you're vibing like that, basically you become music to people who observe you. You become a visual, living, breathing, perceptible symphony of love. Man, that is so powerful. And I'm saying this not as some expert, high and mighty highbrow, like I get it and you don't. That's not it. Y'all listen, this player's still learning to play the game. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to express myself in the field properly. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still learning how to play this field. Because the thing is that not only do I want all the stuff that the universe has for me, I want to influence the field in such a way that my manifestation in the field stimulates a harmonious manifestation in the field. And then what you have is you have like a nice steady waveform. You know, it's like a sine wave. You know, sine waves come out nice and smooth. You know, other things, you know, it's choppy, like an EKG. If you look at an EKG, it seems choppy because that's the rate at which we measure it. But if you look at it really at a more finite level, you'll find that even a heartbeat is a sine wave. And here's the other thing too that I want you to understand about the field and about the wave theory of things is that there are peaks and troughs. It goes up and it goes down. You know, the Ohio players, player, made a song about that. They said, "Love roller coaster." That's what it is. Love is a roller coaster. It has its ups and it has its downs. But if you learn to appreciate the ups and the downs, you learn to appreciate the overall experience and you don't focus on the downs. That's the thing. We want to get on this roller coaster and we want to enjoy the ride. There are going to be peaks and there are going to be valleys. And the valleys don't necessarily symbolize something bad. You know, it's like in your Bible, David says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." There are a couple of things that you need to understand about that. First of all, that this is a valley, and he's being comforted in the valley. And it's the valley of the shadow of death, but it is not death itself. See, the thing is that shadows help to give depth to things. They're not always the negative of things. It's like when you're sketching. If you're sketching something, you are making the outline, but in order to give it depth, to give it character, to give it substance, you're going to shade in certain areas. And those shadows actually give the sketch depth. It makes it more lifelike. It makes it more exciting to look at, more visually stimulating. And that's the way life is. So when we talk about the shadows, don't fear the shadows, learn to embrace them. And again, here's the whenever somebody comes at you negatively, understand that that's a shadow. And it's not anything for you to be afraid of, or for anything, or it's anything for you to lash out at or lash out against. It is simply something that adds depth to your life. And the more shadows that show up, the more depth there is in your life. See, the thing is that if you're not reflecting any light, you're not casting any shadows. And if you're not casting any shadows, you have to really ask yourself, man, am I really living? Because if you're not casting any shadows, you're really not reflecting any light. And see, that's the thing. In the quantum field, we are light. And light is not just a particle in the quantum field like a photon, but it's also a wave like electromagnetic. So it manifests itself in two different forms. You are substance, physical substance, a particle, and you are also spirit, a wave. Wave, y'all. You're a wave and a particle. And when you recognize that, and again, the wave with the greatest frequency is the wave that will influence more in the field. The higher the frequency, the greater the influence. The higher the frequency, the greater the manifestation. The higher the frequency, the greater observable component. So again, people will say that because you cry out against racism or oppression, or because you tell people that, hey, you ought to wear a mask in public because that is your contribution to protecting society. You're not vibrating at a lower frequency, y'all. You're vibrating higher. And the reason why, when you say this, when you say these things, that it troubles people vibrating at lower frequencies is because the higher frequencies tend to cancel out the lower ones. So that means your voice begins to resonate in such a way that it begins to cancel out the negative. And for those who like to frame everything in some sort of context, they call that cancel culture. Except the positive cancels the negative and not the other way around. So in order to play the field effectively, and I like to think of baseball players like Torrey Hunter, one of the greatest center fielders that ever lived. Torrey knew how to play the field. And it was like he had a sixth sense as to where the ball would be in the field. And he had this incredible speed and incredible athleticism, and he would go after balls that other guys just couldn't get to. Because he understood his place in the field. Player. So that's the thing. We have to understand where we are. And understanding where we are and how to navigate in the space that we're in. I look at it like I'm a big fan of race car driving, and I remember there was a guy back in the day, Cale Yarborough, and Cale was not like the fastest guy in NASCAR, but what Cale was is he knew where he was at any given time. And he was always observant, and he was the guy that could consistently come out of a mid-pack and win races. That's powerful. That's powerful. Another person, Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard is one of the greatest fighters that ever lived. And the reason why Ray was so great, he had the speed, yes, he had this footwork, yes, and he had amazing power, yes, and he was defensively sound, yes, he had all of that. But what Ray could do, Ray could drag you into the later rounds of a fight and drown you. In other words, he'd drag you out to the deep end of the pool and drown your ass. That was what made Ray Leonard great. It wasn't, it wasn't the showboating. It wasn't the flashy speed. It wasn't all of that was good. But what Ray could do, and he proved that with Thomas Hearns, he proved that with Marvin Hagler, he proved that with Donnie Lalonde, he proved that with so many other fighters. Ray would take you out into the deep end of the pool and drown you. Play on, player. Play on. Understand where you are in the field. Understand that you are both a particle and a wave. Understand that you are a manifestation. And I said this in a prior segment, that everything that happens in the field happens because something gets excited. You are physically here because two people got excited. You are spiritually here because God got excited. And you are mentally here, if you are mentally here, because you are excited. So that means you're the product of excitement in the field. In other words, love got stimulated and brought you into being. And so again, going back to my example of Oprah, the reason why Oprah is successful is because she has learned how to generate excitement in the field. In other words, she's learned how to love without boundaries. And again, with the law of attraction, whatever you project, you can expect. Whatever you're willing to put out, you can expect to receive in return. So my goal, brothers and sisters, is to put love into the field. In other words, I want to put love into love. And if I put love into love, and as George Benson said, love times love, I'll get more love. And because I'm multiplying love, I'm adding love, which multiplies love, which gives me exponential love and everything that it entails. So I hope all of that encourages you. I hope that it excites you. And it excites you to the point where you're willing to put more love into the field. It's just like, watch this. Here in Arizona, it's a big thing. Everybody wants solar panels on their house. Why? Because if you have solar panels, it reduces your electrical consumption, but it does something else. It takes sunlight, converts it into electricity, and puts it into the power grid. In other words, if you have solar panels on your house, you're putting something back into the electrical field of the United States. You see how that is? So actually, you, by having solar panels on your house, help to put more power or make more power available to others. So if you let the sun shine on you and take that energy and produce and reproduce it back into the field, you add love to love. And that's why there can never, ever, ever be a shortage of love. So make sure that you check out my blog, Love Minus Religion, on Patheos.com. If you want to hit me up, go to DerekDay.com, click the link that says contact, and that will open up a form that if you fill it out and hit submit, it will send me an email. And if you send me an email, I promise that I will respond to you. And also, you could catch me at both Instagram and Twitter. My handle is Derek E. Day. That's DerricKeday. Or on YouTube, the channel is Derek Day. Real simple. And then also, don't forget to listen to, like, and subscribe both the Heretic Happy Hour podcast and the Love Forward podcast, because they will help expand your mind and help you take the love that you have and multiply it by putting it back into the field. So until the next time, peace. Namaste. I see the God in you. Namaste. I see the light in you. Till the next time, love y'all and be blessed.